You're not going to believe how easy it is to get this expensive look for less. I bought this side table off Facebook Marketplace for $25 and I gave it the ultimate flip. I removed the drawer hardware and then gave it a light sand to scuff up the surface for painting. I also sanded the top of the side table and the top edges. I wiped it clean with a damp rag and applied a bonding primer. While that was drying, I spray painted the handles black. Next, I sanded the top with 220 grit sanding block. I wiped it clean and I painted it with white interior latex paint using a foam roller. I let that dry and then I mixed up 3 colors, white, gray, and black. I also filled a spray bottle with water and I got a sponge ready. These tools are essential for the next step. I looked up Carrara marble online to get some inspiration and I printed a photo that I liked for reference. I sprayed the tabletop with water and then I started painting the veins. The tricks I learned are to keep the veins angular and not making them round or swirly, and to make sure that the veins all go in one general direction and make them different thicknesses. I used the sponge and added some more texture around the veins and then sprayed some more water. And then I let it dry, and it does take extra time to dry because of the water that's added during the process. Next, I applied a clear Varathane to finish it off and seal it. I screwed the handles back on, and I cannot believe how much this looks like real marble. What do you think? Did I pull this one off? I hope this inspires you to get creative with paint and making your own faux marble. Thanks for watching Hometalk, and see you next time.
I'm Holly from hollygrace.ca, and you're watching Hometalk.
So I want to bring this table back to life and give it a new look. So I decided that the side leaf pieces were just too far gone. They were hanging on by like 2 screws. So I decided to pull them off, detach them, and just use the top part of this table. So just using a screwdriver, I took off the last remaining parts of the leaf that were hanging on and got rid of those. Then I wanted to try this easy off technique, so using easy off oven cleaner to bring the top back down to the natural wood. So I coated the whole top, let it sit for 20 minutes, and then using a scrubbing pad, scrubbed off some of the cherry finish. It didn't work as well as I thought it would. I don't know if this had an extra coat of sealer on it, but it didn't really take it off as easily as it looked online. So next I came in with my palm sander and I just removed the top coat finish of the cherry stain. But what happened with the natural wood underneath is a lot of the cherry finish kind of stained the natural wood a little bit. So to get rid of the little flakes of red, I used my angle grinder with a sanding tool on it, and I just went in and fine-tuned any areas where there was too much red left over from the cherry stain finish. Now this did work pretty well, and it did get rid of a lot of the red hue, but there was still just a little bit left over into the natural wood. So I used this gel stain in Pickling White from Dixie Belle, and I coated the whole top part of the wood, but rather than letting the stain actually set in, because I didn't want to turn the wood fully white, I put it on, rubbed it in, and then I came in with a damp cloth, and then I just kind of watered it back down so that I would just get that little hue of white to cover the red without losing the full natural finish of the wood. So I just kind of re-wet it and worked it into the wood really well there. For the base of my little table here, I decided to paint it navy, so I used In the Navy from Dixie Belle and just did one full coat over the whole base of my table. Next, I used these Magnolia Garden transfers from the Bells and Whistles line from Dixie Belle, and I transferred these floral decals onto the natural wood. So I cut them off into pieces, and then all I had to do was arrange them the way that I wanted to, place them down onto my piece of wood, and then I used the burnishing tool included with the transfers, and you just work from the outside in, burnishing the transfer onto the wood. So you rub the paper down, and then you'll slowly start to see the paper release from the transfer, and then once it's transferred, all you have to do is remove the clear transfer paper from the decal. It's super easy to apply these. You don't need any extra tools, just the burnishing tool and the transfers from the kit. It's so easy to do this, and it adds such a great finish to my piece. So I continued working away using different pieces from the kit, arranging them in the pattern that I liked on my tabletop and burnishing them the exact same way, doing it piece by piece. I really enjoyed adding these and placing them in the order that I liked, coming up with this nice pattern. To seal my tabletop, I just used this gloss varnish, and all I did was brush it on with a foam brush over top of the tabletop and then let it set for a good 2 to 3 hours. Once I had waited that amount of time, I placed my table in my home, and now I have this cute, adorable little table / magazine rack that I can store my favorite magazines and a nice place to put my cup of coffee. I'm so happy with how this furniture flip turned out, and I was glad that I was able to take something that was destined for the trash and turn it into something adorable for my home.
Give your dark and dreary furniture a light and airy makeover with a few simple techniques. To get the table ready, I'm going to start by giving it a quick clean with a TSP alternative that has no chemicals. Next, I want to give it a light sanding, just to break up the slit surface. I'm using a medium grit sandpaper and just running it over the entire table. With the table sanded, I want to wipe it again just to clean off any dust. I'm just going to use a damp cloth and some water. The table's now ready to paint, and I chose this beautiful soft sage color. Choosing a good paint with a top coat built in saves a lot of time on prep and finishing. I would highly recommend it. I like to start with the pedestal first and then do the top. It's time to do the edge and the top now. Using a good quality brush also helps smooth out the paint lines and eliminate some of those brush strokes. I can also eliminate some of the brush strokes with a quick mist of water. After I mist the paint, I can use the same brush to just smooth it out and even it out even further. To give my table a little character, I want to add a light wash to the tabletop. To do this, I'm going to add and combine some water with some white paint. I like to mix about 50% paint and 50% water. To apply the wash, I'm going to use this chip brush because the bristles are natural and uneven. I'm going to dip the brush into the mixture and very lightly drag it across the tabletop. This is going to create lines that have the look of wood grain. To soften up those lines a little bit, I can wipe them with just a damp paper towel. I'm going to finish off the rest of this tabletop, and I'll be back in a moment to show you how it looks. I absolutely love how pretty this table is now and how much the lighter color changes its look. I hope this has inspired you to grab some paint and give your furniture a makeover as well.
If you love the look of wood grain, however, have a piece of furniture you don't want to strip down to bare wood, consider trying this easier method instead. Stripping paint off furniture is hard work, so here's how to get the wood grain look without stripping any paint at all. I'm now removing all the drawers, then unscrewing each knob, which were stuck to the drawers with a lot of paint. Taking all the drawers outside, I'm sanding each one to prepare them for repainting. The rest of the dresser is also getting sanded in all the painted areas until it's smooth to the touch. After bringing the piece back inside and dusting it off, I'm choosing Algonquin by Fusion Mineral Paint as my base coat. This tone adds an overall warmth to the piece, which is a good starting point for my faux wood grain look. I'm using a paintbrush to cut in some tighter areas, then rolling the rest of the paint on using a velour paint roller, which leaves a very nice smooth finish. Leaving the paint dry overnight, I'm now selecting Fusion Stain and Finishing Oil in Cappuccino for the next step. I'm brushing the stain on the tops and sides of the drawers. There's no need to be neat and tidy in the step since this will be removed anyway. Once covered, I'm removing most of the stain using a crinkly used rag that already had some dried paint on it. This proved to add loads of great texture. Now I'm alternating between using a whisk brush and a rag, swiping over the surface until I achieve a wood grain look I'm happy with. Stain and Finishing Oil has a long open time, so you can work this product easily without it drying too quickly on you. Now I'm repeating the same steps to the rest of the dresser, applying the stain, then wiping it off, following with a brush and whisk to create the finished look I want. I'm being careful to create the wood grain where it would naturally fall in each given area. When working on a larger area such as a side or top, I recommend to complete the entire area all at once so you don't see any stop and start patterns. I'm now choosing Coal Black by Fusion Mineral Paint to repaint the original knobs. After installing the knobs to a dresser drawer, I'm deciding to add some additional styling to the piece to really kick up the personality. After removing all the drawers, I'm positioning a thick grain sack stripe stencil from Funky Junk's Old Sign Stencils, taping it to the middle of the dresser vertically. I'm tapping the paint through the stencil, being very careful not to wiggle the stencil around too much. I'm now placing all the drawers back into the dresser, then using the stenciled areas as a guideline to help position the stencil on the fronts of the drawers. Each drawer is getting stenciled until the entire vertical length of the dresser is complete. And with knobs replaced, I now have an instant wood grain looking dresser that has been elevated with a timeless grain sack stripe. I love the earthy mid-tones this dresser ended up with. The wood effect gives the piece a casual warmth, while the added black knobs and grain sack stripe adds a touch of elegance to it. I think it makes a fabulous looking statement piece for any room in a home. I hope this inspires you to give a piece of your own a custom wood grain look by just using paint and stain.